former INEC chairman, the outgone chairman of INEC, Professor of Glitches Mahmood Yakubu. Professor Mahmood, congratulations on your successful retirement after 10 years of catastrophic leadership and electoral banditry over Nigerians with your gang of electoral bandits. Mahmood Yakubu, you may retire for all you care and shamelessly hand over to whomever may be your man Friday. But Professor of Glitches, you will not be forgotten. And in the fullness of time, you go tell Nigerians waiting exactly caused the glitch for 2023. The lives of innocent Nigerians who have been impacted by your conduct and actions within the last 10 years, they will ask the questions and you will give the answers. Mahmood Yakubu, thank you for teaching Nigerians to know, say, academic qualification and religious posturing in no mean integrity. But as you go into this your retirement, Professor of Glitches, na good time for you to finally realize, say, power is transient. And no matter how long time you spend for power, if you don't leave power, power will leave you. And one day, you too can be referred to as a former this or that. And Mahmood Yakubu, na good time for you to finally think and introspect and ask yourself the question, was it really worth it? Your conduct within the last 10 years, was it really worth it, Professor Mahmood? Mahmood Yakubu, you wrote INEC position paper telling Nigerians and the world why electronic technology was the only way to go to achieve credible electoral process in this country. In your words, you say it is to reduce human interference as much as possible. Mahmood Yakubu, at the end of 10 years, how far? Were you able to reduce human interference in our elections, or you became the major human interference? Professor of Glitches, were you able to reduce human interference in our electoral process, or you became the grand patron of human interference? May your conscience answer the question.
Confirm, ladies and gentlemen, it don't read again between INEC chairman, that is now called ex-INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, with Tinubu. In fact, everywhere don't scatter. Now it is no longer news that Professor Mahmood Yakubu has been retired as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission in this country. But something shocking happened. In fact, immediately after his retirement, that is 2 seconds, we got this information that court has ordered for the arrest of the ex-INEC chairman. And I was like, what is going on? Could it be that the ex-INEC chairman is going to face jail term for every rubbish he has done as the chairman of that commission in this country? But of course, do not forget that Nigeria is a country located in West Africa. Everything is possible here. Now, this could be another strategy of the more you look, the less you see. This could be another strategy for him to disappear into the thin air, just like Jega did, and you will not hear from him again in a long while. But of course, whether he disappear or not, his footprint cannot disappear. In fact, he can run, but his footprint cannot hide. Nigerians will keep recounting every good, if there's any, and all the rubbishes he has done as the chairman of that commission. But of course, I am going to allow you to listen to how Arise News analyze it. And as you are listening, make sure you are sharing your thought with me on the comment section. And also share the video for more updates. Subscribe. And after that, I'll be back. Let's go there.
Mahmood Yakubu, 2018, you lead team of INEC staff to go NCC. You set up steering committee with the then ICT head of NCC, Umar Dambata. Una invite telecommunication agencies. They tell Una how they have helped JAM to conduct successful CBT. You say it must also be implemented in INEC. Mahmood Yakubu, 10 years later, how far? What happened with the electronic technology you were championing? And what is the legacy you are leaving in INEC after 10 years? I don't blame you, Professor Mahmood. It is not your fault. It is Nigerians, as we as a country, that permit and allow public office holders to engage in any level of corruption and criminality without consequences and accountability. But this 2027, where they come, God keeping us alive, the vote of the people must count. Nigerians must wake up and realize that until our votes begin to count, our lives will continue to be victims and not citizens. You don't hand over to anybody where you like, the most senior person there. But it is inconsequential. The madam where you hand over to Barrister Mary Agbamuchembu, she's one of you in the electoral gang where to pretend the 2023 criminality you called elections. After all, the work of anybody they call acting INEC chairman, waiting it be. It is simple. To be placeholder for the destruction of the commission until a destroyer-in-chief is appointed by the presidency to come and completely destroy and continue from where you stop. 2015, Buhari appointed his own niece, Madam Amina Zakari, who began the complete destruction of the entire Jega legacy. And then he brought you in, who for 10 years have carried out this reign of electoral terror on Nigerians. Nigerians, the message now to all of us. National Assembly don't come back from holiday. They will begin implementation and passing amendment of Electoral Act constitutional review. Now where everybody must mount and place focus. Nigerians, we must raise the issue of free and fair election to the level of an electoral crisis. Not be only to talk, that National Assembly now where all men must mount on Occupy NAS to demand that the vote of the people must count. Because as Mahmood don't finish his own go without consequences, they don't already they prepare for a replacement who will of course be worse than him. And if you do nothing, what you see is what you get. 2027, it will be Shege subscription renewal program. If the people where they prepare to destroy country, they mobilize, why are the victims of the wickedness not mobilizing? 2027, if President Tinubu and APC like, they should appoint their ancestors as INEC chairman. If 200 million people wake up and say your vote must count, it will begin to count. Don't let anybody deceive you. Between now and January next year, when electoral law will be passed, I not get any other work God giving us life and strength than this issue of INEC and judiciary and election. If judiciary been do what they're supposed to do, we no go there where we did. But since judiciary has become a willing tool in the hands of politicians, and to reform them, we must go through National Assembly, then let us mount with National Assembly. Senate President Akpabio is back. Speaker Tajuddin Abbas is back. Let us go and camp with them. Nigeria, while you plug every loophole, there must be mandatory electronic transmission of result. It must reflect in the Electoral Act, INEC guidelines, and even Constitution when necessary. Insist on choosing your leaders. If Nigerians want to vote for a goat, let it be through a majority of the people giving a mandate. Make nobody come through window, come they pretend say you want the sweep house. No, the process of getting into power is more important than the power that you get. Everybody that needs to be called out, I go call out. There's no one may we talk them, but we must talk them. These coming elections, Nigerians, let your voices be heard and make your votes count. Other than that, victimhood is waiting for all of us. Congratulations, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. As you pray every day throughout this your retirement to your creator, may you be reminded of what exactly caused the glitch. Have a successful retirement and may the force of the glitches be with you.
Professor Mahmood Yakubu, yes, his legacy will be dogged by the elections, and most especially in 2023, and all the high promises INEC made, but it was below par. Till date, we did not know what constituted a technical glitch. Till date, there are many questions about that elections that we'll never get to know. Till date, we'll never know what happened to the server. Till date, we'll never know what happened to the result process. But apart from Professor Mahmood Yakubu's legacy, I don't think we're ready for the 2027 elections. And I think largely everything that happened in 2023 will still happen in 2027 elections. In fact, even worse off. There was a report released by Vanguard that was showing how some politicians were planning to rig serialization of Form EC8A, B, and C forms, and other methods that they're trying to use. Till date, all the problems we complained about in 2023 elections and the reforms we called for, the National Assembly has not passed them. As we speak, we're already at the end of the year. 2026, no National Assembly will look at those reforms. And when no National Assembly looks at those reforms, even if they look at the reforms and they send it forward, President Tinubu can just toss it and say they should go back and take it back and look at it again, just like President Buhari did. No president will sign reforms that might hamper his own electoral prospects. We saw President Buhari do it in 2019. And I predict to you this morning that 2027 elections will just be like 2023 elections, even way worse. You can mark my words down for that, because we have not seen those reforms. As regards the minister resigning, today I would like to give kudos to the spirit of journalism, what true journalism is always about, not sentiments, which separates the wheat from the chaff. And I'd like to give kudos this morning to Samuel Ogundikpe's outfit, the People's Gazette, that first went on the story and raised alarm. In fact, even called out the security authorities that they passed a man in ministerial screening that had forged certificates. Yes, a lot of people are quoting People's Gazette's the response that was given by the registrar to People's Gazette, which the response has now been nullified. But there's also a backstory to that, because we all know. And the registrar has now written again to show that the man didn't actually, graduate from the school. And the VC also for standing tall, although a lot of people have said there's a political inclination to it. But I think what also nailed it was the work of Premium Times. And I'm going to give due commendation to the likes of Majid and his crew today for the immense work they did as regards that. And they laid out the story bare. So the credit for me goes to People's Gazette and Premium Times, for the work they did. But I think what also nailed it was a document that came out yesterday showing when the school wrote to him that MCB for something, virology course, he will carry it over because he didn't pass it. And that letter was around late 1985. And he responded to that letter in his own words. And these were documents released by the university showing that MCB course, he was going to write the exam in June 1986. So there was no way where he wrote a letter that he was going to write the exam in June 1986, and he claimed his NYC certificate that his NYC was from 1985, I think April, to about 1986. But there was no way he was going to be able to attribute that, because as of 1986, based on his own letter he wrote, he was supposed to be writing his final exam in June 1986. And all the arguments his spokespeople were making was already falling flat on his feet. And I'm sure the minister had to take the high road. He did the honorable thing. He took it and he resigned and he turned in his resignation. But that should not be the end of the case. There should be more investigations. And with due respect, we'd like to call on the security authorities. Please, all the forms or anything submitted by people in this country, and I'm talking about to INEC and other bodies, I think it's time we should evaluate them. And I think it's also time that we put in our schedule and our laws that we should be able to scrutinize forms that are submitted and make them pass through forensic analysis. Because if we had done that, then we'll be spared all of this. This morning, I feel for the Tinubu administration, because this is another big blight on the Tinubu administration. And if proper scrutiny was done, this will not be the case. So, this has happened. As regards to borrowing, if my memory serves me right, this year alone, we've done about 21 billion. I was seeing another 500 million from Afrexim Bank borrowing. Then this 2-point-something billion that we're doing now. But this is the same government that says that all our savings from subsidy will be spent on infrastructure and all of that. And if the numbers serves us right and the revenues we are making as they claim, why are we going through this rigmarole of borrowing? But what is even shocking me the most is what they want to use this particular borrowing for. And please, experts in this field, correct me. I don't know anything. Correct me. Part of that money is to be used for the euro bonds that are maturing. And I wonder, why are we borrowing to reflate euro bonds that are maturing at a time where we claim we are doing well on our reserves? We're having about $42 billion in our reserves.
What we are faced with that Nigerians can legitimately complain about is that this culture of borrow, borrow, borrow. Every time they say we are borrowing. Now, how many times have we had the story of borrowing this year alone? What the critics are saying, 2 points. One, that when you borrow, the borrowing should be for specific results. Borrowing should be tied to revenue. If you are borrowing for projects, then those projects should also generate revenue. Number two is the point that, okay, you are borrowing. That in itself is not a problem. But government must also show prudence in terms of management of resources. You cannot have the kind of conspicuous consumption that frightens the people, and the people say, what exactly are they borrowing for? So those are the key issues in that regard, in my view. What are the benchmarks also? There must also be transparency in terms of government saying, this is what we are borrowing for, this will be the outcome, not just to take papers to National Assembly all the time and say we want to borrow, we want to borrow. No. In a country where the unemployment figure is so high and people are groaning, there must be greater accountability in terms of how you process the details. The economists will say, oh, government can borrow. But the issue is, what are we borrowing for? That opaqueness in that regard is what causes the friction in terms of public trust. Now, World Bank says Nigeria's growth projection has been put up to, I think, 4.2% from 4.1%, 0.6% readjustment. Now, World Bank, IMF, they've always been telling us a lot about statistics. But Nigerians look at these figures and they say it's just statistics. what exactly are we achieving in terms of impact in the lives of the people? Even China is under, reduced demand, deflation, economists call it, real estate problems. But here in Nigeria, we just have figures that things are getting better. Even World Bank and IMF, they bought into that rhetoric. But the people are saying, we don't see it in terms of lived, reality, daily reality of the people. But it's okay. Some economists even say that even 4.2% growth rate is not enough. After all, once upon a time, when this economy in Nigeria was rebased, it was close to 10%. So why this celebration, chest beating, about 4.2% growth rate? But give it to the Tinubu administration. They've been able to have good relations with IMF, with World Bank. I can't remember the last time World Bank or IMF criticized the Tinubu administration. They've been very positive. So that's very good diplomacy in that regard, even if those institutions are not expected to be partisan, given the structure that they run. Now about INEC. Professor Yakubu Mahmood has completed his tenure. He was first appointed in 2015, and he has spent 10 years, 2 terms in that regard. Now he has completed his term. I think the emphasis should be on the future of that institution. The controversy is about who is next as chairman of INEC. Now, I said previously on this program that people are saying, oh, it's not a turn of the Southwest, that the Southwest should be the next person. Well, I said it's about competence. It's about who is the best man for the job. In fact, I went further and even proposed myself as a possible chairman of INEC, and I made the point that I would do a good job. And, because we need to get elections right in this country. But apparently, nobody has asked for my CV since that time. So, but that's Nigeria. But if they give me the job, I will do it. But right now, May Agbamuche, who is the most senior person in INEC, has been given the temporary position. And I think that's just procedural. But the question to ask is it not even better, let's push my own personal interest aside, for somebody within the system, somebody who understands the system, to be the person who will move that institution forward? Someone who understands the issues like May Agbamuche. I don't think there's anything wrong in confirming her as a INEC chairperson. But if somebody is going to come from outside, an outsider will spend like 6 months even learning, 1 year learning. So all of these issues should be looked at. However, the more important point is about electoral reform. Creating a system in Nigeria whereby the results of the elections reflect the will of the people. The will of the people subdued, discounted, maltreated, disregarded in the electoral system of Nigeria. That is the major issue that we have to face. While we are looking for a new INEC chairperson, chairman, whatever, we need to also worry about that. And we don't need to leave that till the last moment when it will now be said, oh, it's too late. We cannot do it again. Now, Naji, the man that resigned yesterday as a Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology. I wrote about that yesterday in my column, back page of This Day Live, This Day newspaper. They also call themselves This Day Live, which is the program we do on Sunday. Now, the issue is about integrity. This is the second minister of the Federal Republic who is going to resign as a minister. Before him was Kemi Adeosun, who resigned. Now, the question to ask is, was he pushed? Did he jump? 2 issues with Minister Naji, as he then was. Forgery of a certificate. He claimed to have a degree from University of Nigeria, Nsukka. University of Nigeria, Nsukka is the foremost independent, post-independence university in Nigeria. It's the only university that is named after Nigeria. Now, that same university gave us conflicting reports. There was one December 31, 2023 report that said, oh, he graduated. Now, in August and September this year, 2 other reports from the university saying that, oh, he didn't graduate. Even the Vice Chancellor, Professor Otwanya, has come forward to say, oh, his name was used in vain, oh, he didn't say anything. Now, universities are supposed to be citadels of learning and institutions that promote character. And my argument yesterday is that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, owes Nigerians an explanation. You can't have an institution that is training a major workforce for the country, flip-flopping and talking from both sides of the mouth, raising questions about integrity. And I even said that the alumni of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, should be thoroughly embarrassed because they go about, they say, we are lions, we are lionesses. These your lioness and lions. You people have misbehaved badly in terms of how your institution has projected you. Second, I think it's good news that Minister Naji has resigned. And it was a bit surprising because before his resignation, there were persons going around in Abuja saying, oh, he's a victim of political persecution. They were saying, oh, he's Dr. Peter Mba, governor of Enugu State, that is after him. Whatever all those, details are. What is important is that people who want big positions must know that there are laws about perjury and forgery in this country. In fact, there are persons who are saying Naji should not be allowed to get away with his violation of the law, that he should be tried, that it's not enough for him to have resigned whether he was pushed or he jumped. After all, for forgery, I think it's about 14 years imprisonment. Now, he must come and explain how he came about the NYSC certificate that he submitted to the Senate and that he presented to the government of Nigeria. He committed perjury on oath for making false misrepresentations, for making false representations. So it's not that he has resigned and all of that. No, it looks to me that a crime has been committed and that that should be pursued further. And that should be a lesson for all future federal government appointees. There's also a question about the integrity of the institutions who are supposed to vet the credentials that are submitted by government appointees. What did they do? They could not spot that a false NYSC certificate was submitted and that this person did not present a proper university certificate. I've also argued, however, that you don't need to have a degree to be a minister, to be a governor, to even be president. Just fail school SAT. If I just have the ability to speak English, that is enough for Nigeria. But that's another subject because we say that Division 3 people should not be the ones that rule us. If you say you can just speak English, you failed, you dropped out, you misbehaved while you were writing school SAT, and you can be whatever you want to be. No. That makes the situation disgraceful because we have properly educated people here. And maybe that's why I was saying I should be INEC chairman. After all, there will be no issue with my own certificates.
You get the point. Now, what do you think? Do you ever think that Tinubu and APC is going to return back to their seat after 2027 general election with what is going on? In fact, share your thought with me on the comment section. And of course, you know the vibe. Click on that subscribe button, follow, and share for more updates. Because like this, we move.